Well, hello everyone, it's Jordan Howie here, and in this episode of Pre-Draft, I will be discussing about the dangers of gambling. I will be enjoying a delicious cup of Americano as I discuss this topic. So, to begin with, gambling is a sin. So it is foolish and it is unwise. I am going to read from Proverbs 22:7. We read, "The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender." So this verse can perfectly be used to condemn gambling. Since one thing that frequently happens when people indulge in gambling is that they end up with something called a gambling debt. And as a result of the gambling debt, they are then having to pay off whatever corporation or place. Alright, so gambling is also a sort of superficial way of making money. Matthew 25:14 through 27 also warns against this. And I will now go to 1 Timothy 6:10. We read, "For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows." That verse right there is a death blow to gambling. And so if you're wondering if the topic of gambling is the primary issue, a secondary issue, a tertiary issue, or a variable issue, well, here's the answer to that question. Well, the fact that gambling is a sin makes it crystal clear that it is the primary issue. Since we know that gambling is a sin, and any topics that have to do with sin is the primary issue. Because preaching doctrines that presents a sinful action as not sinful is heretical. So, for example, it would be heretical to teach that gambling is okay. Since gambling is a sin. Some infamous examples of gambling are lotteries, sports bets, raffles, and the scratch cards or whatever they are. Casinos and raffles. Now, if you're wondering how a raffle is a form of gambling, it is that how raffles work is that a person will pay for a certain ticket with a small chance of winning something. And that totally fits the definition of gambling. Gambling is also a poor stewardship of money. And I go to Proverbs 28:20. We read, "A faithful man shall abound with blessings, but he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent." This shows that gambling is absolutely wrong. Make no mistake about it. So the verses that I have quoted here makes it crystal clear that gambling is a sin. So the Bible does not say anything about gambling, but after taking a look at the verses that we have looked at here, we can conclude that gambling is a sin. So that means that gambling is not a moral gray area, but it is a black and white area, since the topic is a primary issue, which also makes this a salvation issue. So that means that this topic is not debatable. Gambling is also extremely addictive, and things like that have led to a lot of suffering. So in conclusion, gambling most certainly is not a part of God's will. In fact, that falls outside of God's will. And there are some preachers who teach that this topic is, or there are some preachers who attempt to reduce this topic to a secondary issue, or worse yet, a tertiary issue. But they should not be doing this, because that is lukewarm, and that is very dangerous. Since the topic of gambling is a primary issue. Since being wrong on this issue will badly affect salvation. So that is it for this video. Have a nice day, and goodbye.